All right, good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee meeting this evening. I do have some announcements for case 110. That's Malcolm Gray's complaint against Al D'Angelo has been moved to next month. There was an emergency with Malcolm. So it has been moved to our next committee meeting in June. So, Al, if you want to, um, you know, enjoy the rest of enjoy the rest of your evening, you can.
I'd like to make my statement tonight.
Okay.
So here.
Okay. So let me, when we get to that point, okay, Al, I'll let you know. Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. So, Miguel, can you help me? Because, the minutes, I'm not sure if you submitted the March or
I have not. So I will
okay.
definitely have those for the next month. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we cannot vote on accepting the minutes at this time. Okay. Okay, so let's see what's next on the agenda. Okay, so we're going to have case 109 hearing this evening. So I'm going to read the conduct statement because you have two very sensitive cases this evening, and I want everyone to respect each other. So any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with the Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disturbing the peace and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in further action by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Electioneering for a position other than an officer of community board 11 is prohibited. Engaging in acts of violence, including threats, are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings pending review of by the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. That's us. Respect the equality, diversity, and privacy of all persons by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinion. Refrain from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. Abstain from the forms of all or forms of harassment by actively discouraging it. Disseminating false information is prohibited. Okay? So, again, we're going to be respectful this evening. If we have differences of opinion, it's okay to have a difference of opinion, but it doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful. Okay? So I would like to have this meeting run smoothly and people be respected to express themselves. Okay? So I'm sorry. So David and Miguel, you're up. You'll have 5 minutes each. David, you'll have 5 minutes to state your complaint and your concerns, and also please state for us the resolution. And Miguel, you'll have 5 minutes to respond. And David or Miguel, do you have any witnesses that you would like to also speak on your behalf?
No.
Not.
Okay, David?
Thank you. I will be reading the complaint that I submitted to the committee. Allegation number 1, that on January 9th, 2023, during a recorded meeting of Community Board 11 Transportation Committee, of which I am a member, Miguel Dyer did at various points in the meeting exhibit behavior in violation of the Community Board's Code of Conduct. directed primarily at New York City officials making a presentation about the Metro North stations to be constructed in Community Board 11. The most egregious of these statements, which can be found in the meeting link, begin at time index 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 27 seconds. When Mr. Dyer asked the New York City staff and 3 times in succession, "Where do you live?" Chris Kirka of the Community Board 11 staff admonished Mr. Dyer to conduct himself in a respectful manner. Overall, Mr. Dyer treated New York City staff in a manner that was not befitting a Community Board 11 Bronx board member. Allegation number 2, that on April 10th, 2023, during a recorded meeting of the Community Board 11 Bylaws Committee, of which I am the chair, Miguel Dyer did a time index 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 51 seconds, display his middle finger on the camera, commonly interpreted to mean "fuck you," while a member of the community, Roxanne Delgado, was addressing the committee. Mr. Dyer was then advised by me that such a display was in violation of our rules of conduct, and I ejected Mr. Dyer from the online meeting. Mr. Dyer's conduct, coming at the conclusion of a meeting at which a number of his proposed bylaw changes were being considered by the committee, was wholly inappropriate and conduct not befitting a member of Bronx Community Board 11. In both allegations, Mr. Dyer demonstrated a contempt for the rules of Bronx Community Board 11, while at the same time showing utter disrespect for the work of his fellow members and for the members of the community who volunteer their time to better the community in which they reside. I have lived my entire life in Bronx Community Board 11, and I am a member of the board for over 30 years. In my tenure, I have never witnessed such disrespect and contempt for the volunteer work that we do. That concludes my statement.
Okay. Okay, let me just reset. Okay, you can go ahead, Miguel.
First, I just want to state for the record that I had no idea that there was 2 allegations. I was only apprised of 1, the most recent. So I'd like to request that I have time, if Mr. Levitt will indulge me, to come back to that. I didn't have any idea that that was going to be brought up. Secondly, to the second allegation, I have a very, very quick statement. Mr. Levitt, I'm very aware of how hard members of the community and members of the board work. As you know, I did a great deal of work on the kind of conduct statement that I did, in fact, breach. So I do know how important it is, and I apologized the very next day to the person that was involved in that exchange, and to the committee members that were running that meeting. Again, I realized that what I did was wrong, and I fully intend to recommit to abiding by the rules that I worked so hard to make a reality. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so committee members, you will digest what happened this evening, and you will look back at the complaint itself and all evidence and review it. And I will create the e-vote, and you will make the decision. Okay?
Naomi, I have
So-
a question.
Sure.
Since Miguel is requesting time to look back on the first allegation that was presented,
Uh-huh.
should we be voting on it tonight, or should we wait until we hear back from Miguel before we do any voting? Since it sounds like the
Yeah.
complaints are one together.
I agree. And I also we wouldn't be able to make a vote tonight because full board is tomorrow. So we wouldn't be able to make a vote this evening anyway.
Oh, yeah, I misspoke. I
So-
meant should we wait before we send out the survey
The
before?
e-vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the vote.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I think, Miguel, if you don't mind, if you could have if you'd like, and then if David is okay with it, actually, if you could, respond to that at our next meeting, the second the other
Sure.
allegation. You want to
Sure.
do that?
I also did not, I didn't hear a proposed resolution.
Oh, okay. Yes. David, could you provide us the resolution so we have that on record?
No, that's up to the committee.
So you don't have a resolution. You don't have a, suggestion of what you would like to happen.
No.
Naomi, I have a question. Are we
Sure.
going to at all discuss this prior to the vote?
We could probably do an executive session if you want to do that, but I'd rather wait till till everyone makes states their response. So that would be we'd have to wait till next month.
But wouldn't the discussion be pertinent to fleshing out details to be better prepared and equipped to make a vote?
Right, so right now, Jeanette, we have a second allegation against Miguel.
Mhm.
He only was able to respond to one, so he's gonna respond to the second allegation in June.
Mhm.
So we can't even vote tonight. We can't even discuss anything because we don't have all the
So
information.
we're going to handle both of them in June.
We'll handle both of them in June.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna have to do.
Okay.
Okay, so that was case.
I don't have any problem if you split them up, if you wanted to split them up. I guess that's up
That's
to
okay.
Mr. Levitt.
Yeah, I think that's okay. David, how do you feel about
the
that?
committee.
Okay. So we will finish the hearing on this case in June. And Miguel will respond to the second allegation of David. Okay? Any objections to that from the committee?
Is there a recording of that meeting for those of us who may not have been present at the meeting to review?
Yes, there's a recording.
Thank you.
That's why I
Yeah.
want to make sure that we have everything. That's why it's not so easy just to vote on the spot. We have to make sure we have all the evidence so that everyone is reviewing the information thoroughly because these are sensitive cases, right? So
Okay.
we want to make sure we have all the information. So yes, if you need that, just please let me know. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, just to let the committee know, whatever you need, if you're in question, you can absolutely outreach to me. If you have a question about any evidence, let me know so that I can make sure you have it, okay, before you make any decisions. Okay? Okay, so Al, you said you want to make your statement. This is for case 110. Malcolm was not able to attend this evening. He had an emergency. So whenever you're ready, Al.
My question is, why aren't the charges, I mean, Miguel is online. Why can't the charges be read and we get it done tonight?
Because there's another allegation on the complaint that Miguel was not aware of.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll just give my statement then.
Okay.
Al, were you talking about in your particular case?
In my case, yes.
It was Malcolm that made the complaint, not me.
Yeah, not Miguel. Malcolm did the complaint.
Okay,
Okay.
you ready?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready for you. Go ahead.
Several weeks ago, I wrote an article, a piece for the Bronx Times Reporter. I wrote it as president of the Morris Park Community Association. I have nothing to do with Board 11. The article, I attempted to show the importance of family unit as it relates to education, poverty, and criminal behavior. I consider this hearing an abuse of power. Bringing me before a board for an article I wrote as president of the Morris Park Community Association, I believe is illegal. And contrary to the accusations, I did not get my research from Fox News. I took some of my information from the U.S. Census Bureau, the Heritage Foundation, Jonas E. Elias, the Civil Rights Movement and the Collapse of the Black Family, the Anne E. Casey Foundation, Earth Web Fatherless Homes, and Repercussions, the Journal of Criminal Justice, volumes 41, and many others. I completely researched this before I wrote it. The article showed a direct correlation between fatherless homes, education, poverty, and criminal behavior. The article was in no way an attempt to embarrass or demean the Black community. It was simply to bring about an awareness to a problem of broken homes. Children from families with stable homes fare far better in all ethnic groups. The proof is indisputable. Many Black leaders spoke of this in the past and in the present, and I heard no complaints. My data found direct correlation between fatherless homes and criminal behavior in all ethnic groups. I attempted to point that out, in my opinion, it has played a part in the collapse of the family structure in the Black community. The reference to elephant in the room was used significantly to signify a problem which most people are afraid to approach because there is no quick fix. I have listened to one politician after another saying we need money to help education in the system to help Black and brown community. Excuse me. And yet those same politicians vote against charter schools. Why do charter schools and private schools do so much better for a fraction of the cost? Why not allow children in the inner city the opportunity to go to school where their education can be enhanced? In your complaint, you claimed I promulgated old age stereotypes with historically, and I quote that, which historically harmed Black and brown and other marginalized people with a wildly inaccurate and biased truths. I take exception to that statement and challenge you to prove my research did not show a correlation between crime, poverty, and criminal behavior. I further resent the fact that you claim my research was biased. I implore you to do your own unbiased research before you make any accusations. One board member went as far as to try to label me a racist. Again, I challenge you to find anything to show that is true. I have served the community my entire life with no political agenda, and I have never attempted to run for political office. Anyone who throws the word racist at me better be ready to prove it. I put together the Unity Rally at Orchard Beach. I helped inner city children get scholarships to high school and helped them with their SAT scores. I coached basketball in Washington Heights and at PS 78 and at St. Clair's. I spent every Saturday and Sunday during baseball season on Allerton Field from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And my Father's Day dinner was a couple of hot dogs and a soda I shared with my family between doubleheaders. I coached track at McCombs Park and at Pelham Bay Park, and now I volunteer time with the association, community board, and other boards. I am here to serve the community, and I still have time to work for a local food bank. I volunteer my time because I saw a need and had the opportunity to help people. I'm not sitting here bragging about the things I've done, and it bothers me that I have to mention these things. I saw a need, and I had the opportunity to do it, and I did it. Instead of pointing the finger of blame, roll up your sleeves and work to make a meaningful change. To insinuate that I am insensitive to Black and brown community is ludicrous. My track record shows just the opposite. I was dismayed by some of the older board members on this board who have signed your complaint. They should have known me better. I thank the board, the one board member who came forward and reached out to me and voiced his concerns. He understood what I was trying to point out, but explained his concerns about the article. He gave his perspective as a Black man reading the article. The article was not meant to be insensitive, and it wasn't meant to shed, it was just simply meant to shed light on the problem, which needs to be addressed. When there is a cohesive family unit, the chances of a child's success improves dramatically across the board and across all ethnic lines. Your accusations impugn my character, and I resent it. I have my lawyer looking into the possibility of a defamation suit. I feel you went out of your way to demean my character without speaking to me first. I took the liberty to look at some of the social media correspondence from some of the board members. Maybe I should speak to the ethics committee because some of the things they wrote, I don't agree with. The last time I looked, free speech was still allowed in the United States, and an attempt to silence that free speech is criminal. The community board should be apolitical, but I'm afraid some members are here to push a political agenda. Let me remind you, we are here to serve the community, not our special interests. Let me reiterate the article was in no way to demean the Black community, as was pointed out to me. My delivery may have been insensitive, but the facts speak for themselves. I will not sit down and have any individual, I will sit down with any individual at any time to discuss what I had written and how they feel, or to discuss racial inequality or whatever you want to talk about. But I will not be intimidated. Anytime you want to have a meaningful discussion, I am there. And also, I was told by my attorney that answering any questions would give this hearing credibility, and the fact that I feel it is incredible. It is not credible because of the fact that it was done outside the purview of Community Board 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Malcolm is not here. He will respond in June at our next committee
And
meeting.
Naomi, I was able to break away for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do I need to start the
Yeah, I have a few
let's do it
minutes.
over? Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So before I begin, I'd like to thank the 14 other signatories who signed on to this letter and complaint to the Ethics Committee and agreeing to hear it. The word community can mean a lot of things, but in the essence of time, community is defined as a group of people who share a common interest, goal, and welcoming of all people, all walks of life, regarding of what makes us different. As board members, we are public servants. We serve in the interest of the community. We stand as vanguards of inclusivity, development, progress, and the mutual respect amongst its members. In both the New York City Charter and in the Community Board 11 bylaws, we serve the interest of the community. And the interest in the community means to promote diversity and inclusion for all. But what I witnessed within the letter that Mr. Aldiangelo written in the Bronx Times went directly against those values. As community board members and public servants, we must maintain the highest levels of integrity, impartiality, and professionalism in carrying out our duties, both on and off the board, while also refraining from making statements from actions which may be deemed as discriminatory or prejudiced. Mr. Aldiangelo's opinion piece was published on April 7, 2023, and it violated those values. Instead, he has promulgated age-old stereotypes, which continues to harm and disintegrate the Black community. While Mr. Aldiangelo thought he was helping the community, he instead reinforced age-old stereotypes. While I do not want to call Mr. Angelo a racist or impugn the integrity of his heart, I must say that when he was addressed by multiple members of the community board, it was disheartening to see him double down and justify the statements that he made. Attempting to comment on what is presumed to be issues of the Black community while also shutting down voices of such communities is the bedrock of the many systemic issues that have alienated marginalized communities for years. As this board's youngest member and as a Black man, I want to see the vision of the community that so many gave their lives to protect and to improve come into fruition. The Black community isn't a punching bag for your qualms with government, nor are we your soundboard to spew outdated and misinformed beliefs. In fact, I refute your beliefs. In light of what has been said in the article that he published, I'd like to counter with a few facts that truly represent the soul of Black America. According to a report published by Kauffman Foundation since 2018, Black Americans make up 13% of the U.S. population, but account for 30% of new entrepreneurs. According to the National Association of Realtors, the rate of Black for rate of home ownership in the US since 2016. And recent reports in 2021 show that this rate has continued despite the pandemic. According to the 2019 State of Women-Owned Businesses report, Black women are starting businesses at a faster rate than any other group in the U.S. In 2019, Black women accounted for the majority of net new women-owned businesses in the U.S. And according to a report by Nielsen dated in 2018, Black Americans have a buying power of $1.4 trillion and are responsible for many trends involving music, fashion, culture, and this trend still calls today. But my favorite statistic is this. While Mr. Aldiangelo says that our homes are broken, a recent CDC study posted today that Black fathers are more present in their children's lives more than any other demographic. What this shows is that the Black community is just like any other demographic within this community in our nation. We are a community of hardworking, entrepreneuring, and people who just want to strive to reach the American dream. What Mr. Aldiangelo did, in fact, instead of helping our community, he instead refused to listen to our voices, understand what we truly need, and allowing us to lead. By telling me to roll my sleeves up is in fact the same old racist and outdated rhetoric, which continues to put my community as second-class citizens. If we are to represent the Black community within CB11, then we must be willing to listen to them. We must be willing to challenge our own ideals and see the progress that's being made. I leave with this. Shallow understanding from people of good of will is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. This is a quote by Martin Luther King. I asked for Mr. Aldiangelo to apologize for this article. I asked him to recognize the stats that I have stated in this ethics statement as truth, and I asked him to step down as vice chair, because to continue to promulgate these age-old stereotypes and beliefs and not to see the error in your ways after all this time just shows your unwillingness to listen and to evolve on these issues. It shows the inability to lead and the inability to be an actual public servant to those that you claim need the most help. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the recommendations?
I asked him to apologize for publishing an article. I asked him to recognize the stats that I've said today as truth, and I asked him to resign from vice chair, as the fact that he came on today to continue to double down on his statements and in fact try to depict me as being some type of agenda conspiracist is wrong. And he doesn't have the couth, in my opinion, right now to serve as vice chair and to truly represent all of our communities as a public servant.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so committee,
Is it appropriate for anyone on the committee to say anything? I'm asking because I'm new to the committee and I do not know.
You are able to ask either anybody questions.
You can say, you're on the committee, so you can, if you need to speak, you just ask to speak.
So I would like to speak. I am
Okay.
really struggling because I understand that all of us wear many hats. So right now, I'm not using my hat as a community board member. I'm just using my hat as a human being, as a mother and a grandmother. And I want to say that the way the article impacted me with those titles, it both offended me and it made me very sad. 42 years ago, when I went to get a Social Security card for my daughter, and you have to fill out the government form and you have to check off boxes, the clerk said, you have to amend this. You can only check off one box. And I said, but that would not be true. And he said, well, decide what you believe your child is going to be and check off that box. And my response was, I don't have to decide what she is going to be. I know what she is. She is, biracial was not a word then. I said she is, and African American was not a word then. So I had a choice of white and black, and I chose both boxes because it was true. And it was sad that they were arguing with me and actually telling me that I couldn't get a Social Security card. And I finally said, well, by law, she has to have one. You can figure it out. I'm not changing who she is. It saddens me that 4 decades later, because I do believe that that clerk was well-meaning and just trying to get through the day doing their job. Whether you are well-meaning or not, if you say or you write something that offends a group of people, shouldn't the appropriate response be to listen to those people and figure it out? Because if you are truly well-meaning and it is in your heart that this is what you want to do and you want to be helpful, then listen to the people that you are trying to help, and maybe then you can really be helpful and affect change. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jeanette. Okay, so I'm just letting the committee know we need to digest. Malcolm did speak, so we will need to digest the information. I have recorded the recommendation. I will put together the questions, but I think we need to take some time on these cases. These are kind of sensitive cases, and really think about your decision.
Naomi, can I say one more thing, please?
Sure.
And, I feel like there's a lot of people that say that, made this ethics complaint to be scandalous or, to be a race baiter. I try not to speak about race as much as I can. I try to see the common will, the common good, and work with everyone. I just believe that if we want to see good, if we want to see improvement, then we have to be the example. We can't look to others to be the example. We ourselves have to be the example. And when I saw that letter, all I saw was reiterations of the things that my parents have told me growing up, the struggles that they have dealt with growing up, and the struggles that led to the opportunities for me to become what I am today. And I want to be able to provide a community for the future generations, which I know go to the schools in this district and who I play basketball with, to see a community that respects them, that acknowledges their good, and that's willing to go to bat for them. This isn't to be scandalous, but it's just to do the right thing at all times. And for me, in my heart, this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So
I don't know if it makes a big difference, but I do believe that Mr. D'Angelo acknowledged that his delivery was insensitive.
Malcolm, can I just ask, do you really feel in your heart that what Al was doing was something malicious, or just he wasn't properly knowledgeable about how it would look if he had put it together?
So, Veronica, I've had time to think about that. And, I don't think that anybody does anything. I don't try to think that people do things out of maliciousness, right? But I do think that at a certain point, when you hold a certain title, when you hold certain hats, that you have to be really aware of the things that you say, the things that you do, right? I'm 29 years old, right? I I also hold many hats, right? And I'm aware that I need to be willing to not only to learn and to listen to others around me, but to have the sensitivity within myself to not do certain things because it might offend others, you know? And Al, as he says, he's a leader. And as a leader speaking to another leader, I do want to hold them to that standard that you need to take accountability for things that you say and the things that you do. And then you can't just pass it off and say, I'm wearing another hat. Because as a community board member, that is a really big hat. And the things that you do on and off this board gets recorded. So I don't want to impugn his heart in any type of way, but I do want him to really take accountability and really learn why the things that he did and he said was wrong. That's really what it is, And our last conversation, him and I had a conversation outside of the community board, right? We shared things. I was able to educate him on certain things, certain historical context and aspects, perspectives that brought that has shaped the Black community as what is today. So it kind of surprises me today to see that he's threatened a lawsuit and he's doubling down on these things. Like it doesn't show that he's really taking the time to listen to what I'm saying and learning from the other members on this board. It just seems as if he just sees it as a game, and it's not a game at all.
The article pointed out the fact that single-family homes create
But things that
less education, criminal behavior, and poverty. It's a fact. It's a fact. I don't care what race you belong to. It's a fact.
We can speak about race. We can speak about crime. We can speak about jobs. We can speak about education in a way that is impactful to everyone and not just targeting one demographic of people.
I
Right?
did
Right?
exactly that.
The thing is that I have other statistics which point out that actually, right, that the Black literacy rates in America is the second highest next to white Americans, right? It's not just about the family unit that you're speaking of. You're speaking of what you're saying is very one-dimensional, and there's multiple facets to this. And and it just surprised me. You and I shook hands after we last spoke, and you said you understood, but instead it seems like I was just giving you lip service at this point.
You want to go back in history and debate problems that have happened in the past. And those things are real. I agree with that. But I'm talking about what is happening right now to the Black families in America. The crime rate among the Black community is high. And the reason for that is because of the family unit. It's the same thing with the white, the Hispanic, and the Asian community.
Crime rate.
Those groups that have more of a family cohesiveness have less crime. It's fact. It's proven fact. That's what I was saying. I wasn't demeaning any race at all.
If you go to the FBI to the census, it'll say
Malcolm, if you could respond once more. This is turning into a back and forth between and a personal thing, and I don't know that it's relevant to the complaint.
I really want. But the crime rate is high across all demographics across the nation in general. Period. But again, as I'm saying, that we can have these conversations without you targeting one demographic or comparing us to everybody else, right? If we're talking about community, then we're speaking about how can we build our community from the ground up to benefit everyone, right? So to say that the Black community is worse off than anybody else, it's just false. And it ignores the plight of everybody else. We are fighting a common battle that we have to unite against. That's what a responsible leader will say and will do. But that's all.
I would like to say something. So would you say that being the president of the United States is a prestigious role? Anyone can answer.
It definitely is.
From the committee or the respondents. So were there presidents that were raised by single women?
Was one.
It was Obama, there was Thomas Jefferson, there was George Washington. So there are people who are raised by single parents home. I came from a dual parent home. currently I raise my children in a dual parent home. But you know what? There's a lot of single parent homes that raise great kids. So it upsets me when I hear this because there are many communities that have this issue. It's not just the Black community, and it doesn't.
Absolutely. It goes
And
across racial, it goes across
goes-
racial lines.
And what I'm saying is that when you refer to just the Black community having this issue, which we really don't have this issue because there are plenty of Black fathers who are taking care of their children. It's just that what people don't understand is that we are marginalized in this country, people of color, and that marginalization causes you to feel that way. Because if you look around you or look in your community, I see plenty of fathers taking their children to school, Black fathers. I see plenty of Hispanic fathers taking their children to school. I see Caucasian white fathers taking their children to school. It's very upsetting when you hear that one race is being depicted in a way that we don't have Black fathers, and even if you are in a single parent home, that you don't have the same ability to be successful. Because I've seen many successful presidents, CEOs, COOs who have had compromising situations where they're come from a single parent home, and we cannot write off our single parents. We need to help them.
That wasn't the point. The point was, look at this, anybody that's here, look at the
Keep saying
statistics.
statistics. You
They're
keep
not-
saying statistics, and
Well,
I
that's
get
what-
it.
But that's what's showing. What we need to
But
do
the
is work.
statistics, yeah,
Need
I
to
understand
work
what you're
on
saying,
the
but the
family
statistics
structure.
the statistics that you are spewing, you really need to review them and where they're coming from.
I mentioned to
So-
anybody here, if you wish to sit down at a table and discuss this, I am willing to discuss it with anyone. I'm willing to discuss race relationships with anyone. I'm willing to sit with, and I spoke to one member of the board already. We're going to sit down and have a back and forth. I'll give you the white point of view, you give me the Black point of view, and hopefully someplace in the middle, we can
No, but
find
what
out.
what I'm trying to say to you, Al, is that there's no white or Black point of view. There's a human view. And
Exactly.
what we need, no, there's no disputing that. This country, there's over 70 million people in this country, and Black and people of color represent 13%. We cannot be this massive number of people who are causing that has all of these issues. Okay, I'm not saying we don't have issues.
But
I'm
look
just
at the
saying it can't
statistics.
be.
All I ask you to do is look at the statistics. I
Right,
didn't
but
make
you
this
have,
stuff up.
and I'm asking you to look at the statistics, because if you look at
I
the
did.
statistics, but you should question it. That's what my problem is. You should
I
question
looked
it
at
in your
a
mind.
myriad of different sources. I didn't just look
Okay.
at one source. I looked at a myriad of different sources.
Right, but sometimes, in education, and I was always taught when I was taught growing up, you have to question the information and statistics that you are reviewing. You have to say, does it make sense? When you look around you, does it make sense? When you factor it against educational document like Wall Street Journal or CDC, does it make sense? The Census Bureau didn't do a census since 2020 or 2019. Does it make sense? Should we be looking at 20, 2007 data? You have to kind of like look at it. I'm just stating that just for, I'm just talking about just questioning data. I'm not saying you have your right to your opinion, but what I'm saying is that
Obviously, I don't
have
have a
to
right to my
question it.
opinion.
You have a question. You have to question the data. Yeah, no, but you're disputing facts. There's a difference between opinion and facts. I hope everybody understands that. There's a difference.
I think there also needs to be an understanding that just because something is said and something is written doesn't make it an accurate fact. I also
Correct.
think that when you look at everything, You have to look at it holistically. It's not just the family unit.
It is.
It
That's the
is
main concern,
non,
is the family unit.
I
Look
can
it up.
finish my
the
statement
research.
now. Thank you. I did 40 years in social services, and I worked with all populations, and I worked with families, with the prison system, every different population. In the beginning of my career, we weren't involved yet, so we called it mental retardation. I can tell you the number of clients that I had where their case records read the exact same thing. They were diagnosed as retarded because they were, and I quote, a dull appearing Negro youth that tended to get aggressive in the classroom. They were diagnosed, they were lumped into the system. And I will say that in the 5 years that I worked for that agency, I was able to get some of those individuals re-diagnosed, but a lot of damage was done. But it was statistics and it was written, and so that made it so. There were colleges that when you entered City College, instead of going into an actual classroom, you were put into a SEEK program. The majority of the people that were put into SEEK programs were students of color. You could remain in those SEEK programs semester after semester and not gain 1 credit towards graduating. It is a larger system. It is there are so many systems in place that add to where individuals wind up that you cannot simply look at one factor. And when you are looking, you have to have some kind of open mind to understand that your experience is going to be different, Al. My experience is going to be different. If you have a group of people trying to tell you, maybe question those statistics, maybe question those sources, maybe ask for some other sources that you can look at. But just have a willingness to meet the people that are saying that it's not okay and they're upset or they're offended. Meet them halfway and do it. There's no need to get defensive. There's no need to.
Janine, I'm not getting defensive. What I'm saying is just, then you do your own research and get back to me with whatever you find that may be different. I spent 50 years in education, working with inner city kids most of that time. I know, Naomi points out that and I work with many single families, and they raise great kids. But that's not to say that's not the majority of people. The statistics show the majority of people from broken homes end up either poor in the criminal system one way or another, and that's the fact. That's what all the statistics show. Please, Jeanette, if you can find different statistics,
I would
I'm
love to
willing to
sit down
discuss
and have
them
a
with you and go over
conversation
them.
with you, Al, because I'm going to agree to disagree, and I'm going to say that the system sets up, you say it, you believe it, you tell people enough, you bring it into reality. There are people that have come out of the system and not allowed themselves to be defined by either the statistics, the inappropriate and incorrect written word, or the good intentions of others.
But
You
if you
gave a lot of your life to doing something good, Al, which means I believe that there's, let's sit down and talk to each other outside of this forum.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
I totally agree to disagree with you. And my greatest wish is that you just take a second to realize that this isn't an attack. It's just because we want this to be a board where we can focus on helping this community. That's why we all came on the board, to support one another and help the
If
community.
it's a problem that needs to be fixed and we can do something to fix that problem, wouldn't that be a good thing for everyone?
It would be a good
Instead of
thing.
denying it and saying
but
it's not true?
Well,
would be a
the
good
issue
thing.
that, I'm sorry, Jeanette, go ahead.
This has to stop. So one response.
I'm fine with talking to Al outside of the group. I think I've said everything that could be beneficial at this point.
Yeah.
Al, you have
I
15
don't know if
seconds.
that's a, I don't know if
But I
that's.
agree with you, Nat. I'll sit with her anytime and we can discuss and have an open discussion. I think that's important. And I'll sit with
Also,
anyone.
Wait a minute, I disagree with that. I think we need to have a discussion together.
That's fine. I'll discuss anything with anybody.
Appointed people. Yeah, because that yeah, that's good that you guys are compromising to have to disagree, but to disagree to agree or agree to disagree. But I think this needs to be a communal kind of discussion.
We're here to help a community,
So,
whatever the community
absolutely,
is.
and that's the point of my conversation with you, Al, is that I want you to look at it as a community, as human beings that may have issues that you want to help to work on, but it's not always a color issue.
No, it has nothing to do with color. The broken
That's all
homes
I'm saying.
goes across racial lines.
Correct.
White families that have broken homes have the same problem with crime and poverty and you know. Again,
Right.
I don't want to beat this thing to death.
Yeah.
But
No,
anytime
I'm just,
people want to get together,
we can have our
willing.
communal and maybe make a nice little meeting and eat and.
But I won't
talk
be
about
called a racist. That I won't be called.
Did I say that to you,
No,
Al? See, there we go
Naomi,
again.
not at all. But that's what
Nobody
the
called you a
interjection.
Keep having this
One
conversation.
board member,
Did I
one
say
board
that?
member did.
Okay, I didn't say that.
you a racist.
No, you did. You
I
absolutely
didn't
did.
say that.
No.
I never
Okay,
called you
so
a
I just want to say Naomi
Fine.
Pemberton did not say that. Okay, I did not say that. I'm trying to have a conversation with you based on the discussion this evening.
You're right, Naomi.
But-
You did not say it.
Okay.
One
I
thing
just-
I'd like to point out is that if you hear Malcolm, he found information during his research. Al found information during his research.
Exactly.
Nowadays, when you Google something on the internet, and I'm not sure if that's how you gentlemen found your information, of just saying if you go to research something on Google, depending on what you put in, depends on what your results are. And statistics are based on the information that was gathered during that research. It may not be everything, so statistics can be skewed one way or the other. So this is something we all have to keep in mind. When we do research, we have to make sure that we do deep down research to try and find as much information as we get. So we may have information that's incorrect, but it's based on something that's a legit source, but their information unfortunately was skewed, or might be, may not exactly be accurate. And then you have some other source that may have similar information or different information because their sources were actually different. So one thing about Googling or searching is it takes a lot of time and effort to get as much accurate information as you can on something.
Correct. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. Is there any other questions from the committee or statements or any feedback that you would like to give at this moment on either case? Okay, so there doesn't seem to be any questions at this time.
Naomi,
Okay, so
if you could please remind the people in the chat of the conduct statement. Thank you.
oh, okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't monitoring the chat. Okay, so we just want to make sure that we keep our chat. As I said, I read the conduct statements in the beginning of the meeting, so just please make sure that the chat is also under the same guidance. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll have gallery session. Gallery session is the same rules as the full board. 2 minutes. I have my counter, my beautiful purple counter. Okay. And so I'm going to look at the agenda. I don't know, is Jeremy here? Because I don't know who's registered. I didn't get a list of who's registered for this evening.
So Charlene Jackson Mendez registered. I did forward you that.
Okay.
I think that was the only one. Other than that,
okay.
see, I can double check right now. I do see Miss Delgado's hand is up, but Charlene definitely registered.
Okay. So Charlene, are you ready this evening? to
Yes,
speak?
I'm ready. Can I please have a 30-second warning?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm always going to start with, I am a Black American. I have deep love for my country and community. I want to say that no one person speaks for the Black community. The Black community is diverse. So let me just say that. And many people on the board, they speak as if they're speaking for everyone, and I don't think that's fair. I'm a descendant of slaves. My family came through the Jim Crow South. Several members fought in World War II, and I'm the daughter of a U.S. Marine Corps drill sergeant that served during the Korean War. So every right and privilege that we have under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was hard won. I think it's terrible that anybody should try to censor or silence someone for writing an article. You guys blur the line between facts and statistics, but certain statistics are very, very well known and they are accurate. Anybody that loves the Black community, nobody would wish fatherlessness on any child because it does come with very well-known risk. That doesn't mean that a single mother cannot do a good job. It just means that in reality, if you don't have a father, as a child, you're at risk for certain social maladies. I think our community is a wonderful community. I think there's a small group of people that use racial divisiveness to divide and conquer, and I hope that stops. I really feel as if we are never going to be able to move forward if we cannot have honest conversations. There is a problem in the Black community with crime. There is a problem with our children not doing well academically. And that doesn't make me a racist to say that. So please respect everyone's right as an individual. I couldn't believe in that meeting that I heard someone say, you can't discuss this if you're a white person. That's ridiculous. That means I cannot discuss the Constitution because I'm a Black woman. So if we really, want to move this community board to a higher standard, let's think about what we say before we say it. And if you're in a leadership role and you're going to be using statistics, it's important for you to make sure that you come with accurate information. I don't believe, Al, you owe anyone an apology. You have your rights as an American citizen. If just because people have strong emotional reactions to what you say doesn't mean that they get to silence you. Thank you.
Can I just respond to a small part of what you said? Yes, there are issues with our educational system. I just want people to recognize that there was something called segregation that occurred in the schools, and we did not have equal education. So I just want that to be understood. And we're still desegregated, actually. Even though there's a Brown versus Wade forced states to become more equal in education and desegregated, but we're still segregated. Okay, that's all I would like to say.
Am I allowed to say something since she gave me a comment? Am I allowed?
Yeah, absolutely, you can respond.
Okay, so yes, the schools are very much still segregated. And yes, we do come out of a history of segregation and horrible atrocities. But the problem is when you still had Black communities in the 50s and the 60s living together under horrible circumstances, as a whole, our families were doing much better. They were intact families, mothers and fathers, all the way through the 70s. I come out of a period of Black excellence. where we were taught, if you want to overcome racism, you work hard, you study, you make sure you're twice as good. That's the traditional Black American teaching. So we cannot use that as an excuse, because in very recent history, our families were actually doing quite well under more horrendous circumstances. And if you look at people of other cultures of African descent, such as Jamaicans and other people from the Caribbean, typically within one generation, they are middle class, doing just as well as mainstream American families. So these are things that I have studied my entire life. I have worked in my community to improve it my entire life. This is an area of academic expertise. There was nothing in that article that Al said that was inaccurate, and people are twisting it and having their own emotional reactions to it. He didn't say no single parent can do a good job. He did not say that. He didn't say no Black families have a father. He didn't say that. Please, there has to be some honesty here. If you disagree with what Mr. D'Angelo said, then write your own article. Don't silence. This is a free country. We have freedom of speech. Debate is a good thing. No one should attempt to silence someone because they feel that a person of a particular color cannot make a comment about another community. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. If that were the case, I can't comment on the Constitution because I'm not a white male of European descent. Really? Is that the best we can do? Is that the best we can do? And it's not a matter of pouring money into schools, because if you look at the facts, the Catholic schools, the charter schools spend less money, and Black and brown children from the same neighborhoods are doing better. So let's be honest. That's why people are frustrated, because there's always a demand for more and more money. Always a comment about this is racism. We see a disparity because of racism. No, a lot of the disparity is because of behavior and what you do every day in life. So let's get honest and let's do the work. Everybody on the community board is a quote unquote leader. Why are we demanding to know why we're spending so much money per pupil and our children are graduating from high school and they're not literate? And then when they can't hold a job or they cannot do well in society, you want to holler racism. No. In a free society, in order for a free society to function, you have to have people that are moral and you have to have people that are literate. And that comes from study of human beings over the millennia. So let's get honest.
Ms. Jackson Mendez, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Well, actually, I have two. I'm sorry. The first one is when you say that that is the traditional Black teaching, wouldn't you say that you were doing exactly what you're saying that others are doing?
No, sir.
Because
Mr. Dyer, no, sir. And I'll tell you why not. Because if you study Black history and what was traditionally taught in Black families, you will find the written evidence of that.
don't you think that there is a wide, that's casting a very wide net? Don't you think that people's experiences in Detroit were probably very different than their experiences in Tuscaloosa?
Yes, but if you do this research and you study, and I am a scholar, this is an area of expertise for which I am credentialed, you can study these things, you can know them, you can read the original literature, you can read about what was taught within Black families. It's public.
Ms. Jackson,
data.
there are other people that are scholar in this.
Yes, but
I am one of them, actually.
You can debate that. Ms. Pemberton, you can debate that. But I am actually research and I am published in the field. So there are traditional Black American values. They're definitely.
I understand what you're saying, and like I said, you're absolutely have every right to your opinion. And I think but that's where I just have a problem with what you're stating. You're saying this is the truth. This is the truth. This is
It
your
is.
but
It's
this is
not
your
a
opinion.
make-believe thing.
This
It's
is
not a
really your
make-believe
opinion.
thing. It's
Okay,
not my
we'll agree to
opinion.
disagree. We agree to
Okay,
disagree.
my
Well,
second,
We
my
have every right
second
to
But
disagree.
the
question,
research
my
and the
second
literature
question,
is there.
my second
The
question.
Yeah, but
literature
I
is
can't.
there.
I
My
can't
second-
let
Everyone,
like,
we
you
can't
state that
talk
that's the
over
truth.
each other because we're not
Okay,
going to get
But
anywhere.
there is a
Okay.
traditional Black American
Thank you,
culture.
Veronica.
It's not a made-up thing.
No, I never said it was made up. I'm just saying that the truth, you can't say that it's the truth. That's your opinion.
Okay, it's
That's
not
all
a
I'm
opinion.
saying.
When Naomi,
Okay,
when
okay,
well,
okay. I'm not gonna,
excuse me.
we're not gonna argue.
You don't
I'm
have
just,
to argue,
was my
but
question.
that's
Argue
really,
with you.
listen, when you go out and you do the research and you actually study and you talk with people and you go to the history and you look at the literature,
We've heard that from you. Thank you.
that's
The
that's
question,
called being a scientist.
the second
That's what you
question,
do. You
and this is
establish
called,
facts.
this is called finishing
Miguel,
my question.
let her finish, Miguel. Let her finish, because
No, I'm just saying because that's
we gotta move
really,
on to the next person.
yes, it's really a cop-out though, when people take the time to do quality research and then you have people just say that's a belief or you discount it. It's actually verifiable. It is verifiable. You can, I've done the research myself and so many other scholars have.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Okay.
I had a second question there.
Mhm.
I said that in the beginning. I've been trying to get it out. Ms. Jackson Mendez, just
Yes.
in your opinion, I'll give you another fact. Trans kids are 3 times as likely to commit suicide than cisgender children. And that is a statistic. That is a statistical fact. If you wrote a letter to an editor, you yourself, Ms. Jackson Mendez, suggesting how to address that scenario to my community, would you feel that you had the right to speak on that the same way someone from my community or a parent of a trans child would?
You know, that's not an area of expertise for me, so I would not speak on that. I don't have, but if I wanted to learn about it and do the research, I certainly could. And I don't think my not being trans means that I can't make a comment about that. That's that.
But if you propose a prescription for all the, you know, for the things as if you knew the lived experience, do you think that would be fair?
I would never write from the perspective of of the lived experience. And by the way, that's not what Al did. He didn't pose himself as a Black man. He didn't do that. He
Well,
did not do that. We are human beings. We're capable of thinking, imagining, and feeling.
then I think
And
he may have been good to consult with you and cited some of your research.
but that,
That's all
I
I
don't
have.
know. Miguel, I don't agree with that. I don't think that every time you make a comment about mainstream American culture that, oh, you have to go and consult a mainstream American. No, things are knowable. The same way I know that 1 + 1 = 2, I can know that Black people are 13% of the population and have high rates of involvement with crime. I say that as a Black woman. That doesn't make me racist. That doesn't mean every Black person is a criminal. I am acknowledging something destructive that's going on within my own community. How can you solve something if you don't identify the problem correctly? And I believe, maybe you all don't know it, but in this community, we basically do get along. And a lot of times we work together as diverse groups of people because we have similar values, many people in this community. So I'm not going to cotton to that. You can only say this if you belong to this group. I didn't live my experience as a white woman, so I can't comment. No, I think that is ridiculous. Why are we going backwards instead of forward? The truth is knowable. Certain things are experiential, but other things are truth, and they're verifiable, and they're knowable by everyone. There are 16 ounces in a pound. That's a fact.
I think
Everyone knows that.
I think we've beaten this one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mendez.
Mhm.
Okay,
You.
so committee, do we want?
Naomi, there were other people with, just so you know, there are other people with their hands up in the chat.
Oh, yes, so
Yeah,
I'm
they may-
asking the committee, I'm asking the committee members, would you like to go to the raised hands? They were not registered for tonight. I
Yeah,
let
I
Ms.
think-
Charlene speak because she was registered to speak and for us
Yeah,
to
I
respond.
think we can let them speak. I think we need to adhere to the 2-minute rule and only 1 or 2 questions from the
Okay.
committee, and because we are running over time, unless
Yes,
the committee feels otherwise, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with that. Okay, so I'm gonna start my timer. Ms. Delgado, you can go first, and I'll give you
I'd
a
like to-
30-second warning.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to state that due to a recent article regarding the incident regarding the finger, many members have reached out to me in public, in person and in electronically, whether the board member was removed. I said no, and they said that's a shame, that really will look bad on not just the board, but the Bronx Borough President's office. And then even after the incident, that same individual had made disparaging remark about Friends of Pelham Parkway in an educational meeting. I think it was last month, making fun that he should be amigos at Pelham Parkway and be the founder or president and make up events like they do. So it's a continuous harassment from this individual, which I will address with BP's office. And I mean, to follow Charlene is unbelievable because you can't beat that person. She's so intelligent and so articulate. I think it's amazing that she should be a city council person, but that's my opinion. I have to say, regardless of what I agree with Al D'Angelo, it's not about D'Angelo. It's about people's right to express their opinion. And he did it outside the board. So you don't have any jurisdiction over what he has said outside the board. Yet you have someone who actually flipped a finger on the board, and none of you have discussed that. And in fact, I've been told when that incident happened, the same individual said to someone that if Miguel goes, Al D'Angelo has to go. I can't divulge the name, but I'm going to send it to BP's office. This was done before this allegation of his op-ed, this outrage over op-ed that you may not disagree. Why don't you refute his op-ed? You don't agree with his stats? Refute it. That's what an intellectual person would do. Instead
You
of
have 30 seconds.
bringing this drama into a community board meeting. I mean, listen, I disagree with D'Angelo, but he has every right to his opinion. He actually put stats on it. He just needed to just go put rhetoric, like I hear rhetoric here now. Ideology. It's about community, not biology. You should be apolitical, and this seems like a political hit job on Al D'Angelo. And if they go after him, who's next? Think about that. Who's going to be next on that list? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to
Diana
respond
Finch.
because I was called out by name.
Oh, you'd like to respond, Miguel? Sure.
Yes. I just wanted to say it is actually being discussed today. So I don't really see how it's not being discussed, your allegation. And as far as your other allegations, I would appreciate if you didn't make remarks without citing people's names or sources. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So don't, after what you did to me, please do not address me. You're out of line. And those sources were sent to BP's office. Thank you.
I will address anybody I'd like who attacks me
No,
personally.
you do not
Thank
address
you.
me after what you did. You violated a woman in public, disgracefully. You have still the nerve to even speak to me. It's disgusting.
Somebody take control of this meeting, please.
Please, everyone, let's just not go back and forth, okay? Let's just be civil to each other and let's move on. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Miguel. Who's next to speak?
Okay, thank you.
Diana French, please.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to knock down the straw man here. Nobody is saying that Al D'Angelo should be censored. No one's saying he doesn't have a right to free speech. What people are discussing are the consequences of what he says, how it comes across to people, how it affects people. In terms of statistics, here's an example. You have to put the statistics into context. The statistic about 70% of Black families being single mothers, absent father may be true, but there are dozens of articles, studies, there's even an entire book written about the myth of the missing Black father. Just because the father doesn't live in the home does not mean that they're not very involved in their children's lives and care very much about them, support them, act as fathers. I know this from personal experience. I was married briefly to a Black man, as the father of my child, my daughter. We lived apart when she was growing up, but he was very much in her life. So when you wield these statistics in ways that infer very negative things about a large group of people, I think that's very insensitive. And if you're a leader in the community, no matter what position you hold, you could be called to account for the insensitivity with which you are speaking as in a voice of authority. So I think that those are the issues. There's conflict, and then there's the appearance of conflict. And I hope that Aldangelo is more sensitive to the people that he's writing about and says that he wants to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ephraim, you're next. Oh, I'm sorry. Does anybody have a question or comment? Okay, Ephraim, then you're next. Ephraim?
Yes. As I hear what's going on today, I just want to say that anybody can have an opinion. I look at the business of a board and all the years, in the 45 years that I've been going to community board meetings in my life. And so, an opinion piece from a community organization, it seems to be very strange that, that was something that somebody's personal opinion would come in. But look, you're going to have to hash that out. But remember, everybody has a right to an opinion. I will just let this committee know. In the 1970s, I met a man who was fighting, Puerto Rican, and a lot of people may not understand this, but in the Bronx, when the Puerto Ricans were moving in, that's when the buildings were burning. It was crazy. And I was with lawyers in State Senator Joe Gallagher's office as a child when my father was the chief of staff, and I'm hearing all these stories. And what I want people to understand is that statistics, whether people like it or not, sometimes people do see things around them. And so, I see people that say that statistics, but one thing they cannot tell me is what I saw to the Puerto Ricans. Just like in Community Board 11, and I talked to Al about this, Latinos are the majority. As a matter of fact, they are so much the majority, and the numbers are going to keep going up, that it is shocking. And I just want everybody to know that during the Black Lives Matter movement, and I didn't agree with everything they were doing, and then when the people were rioting, I always said, you have a right to do what you do. But the only thing I'm going to say is that that person who's running that organization, and I was right, she's going to take that money and she's going to go take care of herself, and she's not going to do a damn thing about your community. I get men that come in and women, and they put their heads down. They say, man, I can't believe that you're right. Sometimes you just have to look at things every day and you see what happens. Nobody's perfect, but there's too much politicizing in this community board. And The younglings, they should become turtles instead of rabbits, and to see the world a little bit more. Because what happens is, I had a guy that told me that he wants to go in and he wants to change everything at another community board. And I told him, no, I want you to listen to the elders, to the middle, and I want you to listen to the young, but I want you to be active. Don't go in there with narratives, because if you go in with narratives that you're already going to do it, you're not going to learn anything. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, so, any
My hand
questions or
up,
comments?
Ms. Pembleton.
Christine has her hand up for a while.
Wait, I can't see. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me get a handle on what's going on. Okay. Okay, Christine, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just was a little confused because I was looking at the chat and some of the comments made by Miss Delgado. And she says a lot of things here, but she says, D'Angelo isn't a racist. He is annoying sometimes. So I just wanted to clarify because Ms. Delgado, did you not make a public statement saying that, let's see if I can get, as I stated, Friends of Pelham Parkway is the only group in Community Board 11 founded by a woman of color because of the systemic discrimination that originates from Bronx Community Board 11 run by certain members of the Morris Park Community Association. This goes beyond race, but these members are proud right-winger Trump supporters and running the show despite the fact that the district is overwhelmingly Democrats. So, and she goes on, there's more here in a statement, a public statement that she made. But I'm confused, Ms. Delgado. Are you saying that those, I mean, who were you referring to when you made that
First of
public
all, I'm not
comment?
under interrogation. I think it's shocking that you go through my Facebook page, but that's what I'm saying. This certain board members are scoping everyone's social media page to try to bully or harass people into agreeing with what they said. But discrimination is not racism. If the discrimination could be based on race, income, gender, or even your zip code. So, and not once did I ever mention Al DeAngelo. So you're taking things out of context to suit your agenda.
I'm trying to get clarity from you because you made the comments in the chat. I didn't make the comments.
I didn't make any
So
comments about Friends of Pelham Parkway.
you made a public statement.
But that's what I'm saying. You're scoping, I guess, through all my Facebook page posting and taking
But you
out
have
what
made
you want to
you have
suit
made
you.
public comments about the community board being racist. And
No, I never said racist. Discrimination is different. Systematic discrimination, even from the BP's office, the way the community board is set to disempower the community, mostly the vulnerable, marginalized community. Not once did I ever say D'Angelo is at fault or that he's a racist. I'm not defending him because I don't always agree with him, but I never once ever said he was a racist. So don't pull me into to fit your political hit job against him. I'm not
pulling
part
you
of that.
in. You made the comments in the chat, so I'm just trying to
Well,
clarify
I didn't
because
mention.
as a community board member, I want to know where your position is.
I'm
If
saying
you have
I
a
don't think D'Angelo
concern,
is a racism. I said
excuse
it
me,
10
Ms.
times.
Delgado, can I finish what I'm saying?
Wait a minute.
I just want to clarify it as a community board member, what you're saying about the community board. Is there a specific
Again, where did you
person?
see this post? Because I didn't post this here. So where was this post? 5 years ago, 7 years ago? Where is this post that you just
Okay,
read from?
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing
Thank you,
July
this.
because I don't know even
7,
how to
We're not,
respond to that.
2022.
hello, we're not doing this. Okay? Not doing it. You answered the question. We're done. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Delgado.
Bob Press, please. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I've been on a community board ethics committee. It was called Law, Rules, and Ethics on Community Board 8. And I can't believe the conflicts of interest on this ethics committee. First of all, the two chairs are appointed by the chair of the board. So if the chair doesn't like their decision, that's why I couldn't come to this ethics committee with my complaint against the chair of the board for politically removing me from the housing committee because she's a political candidate. All right, I'll just leave it at that. But But she can remove the two chairs, the chair and the co-chair of this ethics committee, if she doesn't like what you've come up with a decision. That's why you need to be, the chairs of the committees need to be elected and not selected. Now, also on this committee, you have one member who is the treasurer of the chair's political campaign. One member who collected signatures for the chair, and one member who contributed to the chair's campaign. So I don't see how this ethics committee can be any way fair in any matter concerning the chair of the board. Okay? And one final thing, okay, to members, like I heard before, not Mr. D'Angelo, but other members of this board who said they were at the Just Home meeting as a private citizen. When you apply for the board, you're applying for that board. And when you're walking down the street and somebody tells you, oh, board member, we have a problem here, you say, yes, what's the problem? You're wearing that hat 24 hours a day. I know I did as a board member, and board members here on Board 11 should be wearing that hat 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. So, I'm gonna move forward on the agenda. Is anything else from the committee members? Okay. Any motions? Okay. Any, old business that needs to be brought up today from the committee members?
I'm sorry, just a little
Sure.
point.
Go ahead, Miguel.
I forgot to address this when I was responding to Ms. Delgado. She said that I should never say that we beat Charlene Jackson Mendez. That is, I got cut off. I meant we're beating a dead horse. we beat the horse to death. I absolutely did not mean that personally towards Ms. Mendez. I'm not here to beat anyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any new business this evening? Okay. So I would like to get a second on adjourning the meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
be safe. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
What a meeting.
Mics are still on.
Nothing wrong with that. All I said, what a meeting.
So is Jeremy the only person who can end the meeting? Do we need to tell him that it's over?